exactly 8 days ago, the Montreal Canadiens announced that they were moving on from Dominic Ducharme. Interestingly, they did not name a replacement immediately, but eventually, Martin St. Louis was named as replacement. What was your first reaction to hearing St. Louis named as head coach for the Montreal Canadiens?
It was pretty quick, though, wasn't it?
It was about 2-3 hours.
Okay, well, what do you want? Like, holy smokes!
Well, go to Edmonton. Well, we're going to be going to Edmonton next.
Yeah.
They had
their
It
guy
almost felt like they were kind of like we're firing Dominic Ducharme and we're going to name.
But they
no. What do you mean no?
No, but
okay,
they knew they were hiring. They knew they were hiring.
I know,
Martin
of course
St.
they
Louis,
knew.
But
but it was odd.
Yeah,
the timing was odd.
Yeah, but everything about this season is upside down and odd about the Montreal Canadiens.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean,
they're nothing if not consistent.
How do you stay? How could you have possibly stayed with Dominic Ducharme? I mean, it was clear that the players weren't buying what he was selling, and it was very clear that they had tuned him out. It was very clear that they were bad and not caring.
Right.
So you had to do something. You obviously had to do something. I was really surprised at Martin St. Louis. You're going to make me say it.
Your tweet was so funny. The real question is, who's going to be coaching the U12 AAA team?
U13 mid Fairfield team. He was the assistant coach too. He wasn't even the head coach. Like, come on.
He's going to work his way up there.
I mean, I get it, but like, bring him in as something else. Like, I don't know. I mean, he's 0-3 right now. I mean, I guess they play a lot harder, and there seems to be a lot more. Like, he's got all kinds of runway. He doesn't have to win a game this season.
Yeah.
And he might not win one. He might not.
Yeah.
He may not.
Yeah.
I mean, they brought in a Pee-wee coach.
Yeah.
Albeit one who's in the Hall of Fame, who had, 1,100 points, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Stanley Cup, Hart trophies, 3 Lady Bings.
I told you that little Twitter bit I got into. I said, my youngest student is 7, maybe, where should I send my resume? And somebody said, well, did you score 1,000 points in the NHL? Well, goalies aren't normally judged on points, so.
No, I didn't.
I've scored maybe 4 ever.
Yeah.
So what do you think the Montreal Canadiens then are looking to accomplish with the hiring of a Pee-wee coach?
Well, I think what they wanted to do was they wanted to see who they want to keep, how they want to, I mean, he's another thing that bothered me is that he got the job because his kid played with Kent Hughes' kid, and Kent Hughes got the job because his kid played with Jeff Gorton's kid. Like, if you're trying to rebuild something here, maybe not be going to your buddies all the time. Now we're hearing that, Vincent Lecavalier, another guy who's coaching minor hockey in Tampa, he coaches his kid and John Cooper's kid, may be in the Canadiens organization somehow. But yeah, I mean, I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to figure out where they're going to go from here. And they needed somebody they trusted. They both trust Marty. They needed someone who could give them the goods on, who should stay, who should go, what the pulse of the room is, and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But to me, I think the more intriguing question here is, what's the plan?
Yeah.
What's the plan in Montreal?
Yeah.
And if you trade one of your more productive players who's on a really good contract with 2 years of term left, I think that makes a real statement about where you're going.
Yeah. And
to me, it's straight to Palookaville, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's tankety tank. I can't see any other, like, they can say it's not, but I mean, you trade Tyler Toffoli. I mean, Tyler Toffoli, he only had 9 goals, but he was tied for their score, tied for the most goals. Yeah. And he was second in points. Yeah. And he had a horrible start, and he wasn't I didn't feel like Tyler Toffoli was part of the problem in Montreal.
No.
He possibly could have been part of the solution if there was one. But so you trade him, right? He's on a great contract. Yep. He's got 2 years of term left on it. He's 29 years old. It's not like he's 35, you know?
Yeah.
I think you're making a real statement with a move like that. And to me, if you're not tanking and if you're not going to just cut it down to the wood, then what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, we know Ben Sherratt's going to be gone. We know Jeff Petry's probably going to be gone.
Yeah.
You know, so then to me, where does it go after that? What do you do with Brendan Gallagher? You know, what do you do with Josh Anderson? What do you do with, you know, Carey Price?
Yeah.
What do you do with those guys? Because it's going to be interesting to see how much pain there's going to be in Montreal and for how long it's going to last.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the Mike Babcock, there's going to be pain here, right? And there's going to be pain. There is pain in Montreal. And when I say tank, I don't mean for this year. I mean long-term tankage. You know what I mean? Like really digging in and saying, okay, we are going to, you know, because the 2023 draft, you've got Connor Bedard, who's the far and away the number one prospect. You've got Matvei Michkov, and you've got Adam Fantilli, who's a kid who's playing in the USHL, going to Michigan next year. He's going to be a great player. Those three players. So if you tank, you're guaranteed one of those three guys if you finish last.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, is that what they're doing? You know, and if they are, then move it along. Move it along. Let's go.
Yeah.
Ben Sherratt, you're out of here. Jeff Petry, you're out of here. You know, Brandon Gallagher, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Do you want to be part of a rebuild for 100 years? Or do you want to move on? Well, maybe we can't move you on because he's got 6.5 on a long-term deal.
Yeah.
You know, and Josh Anderson, same thing. But, you know, I think they have to figure out what they're going to do.
So before I get into Toffoli a little bit, I just wanted to ask one more question about the coach, just to kind of tie things
a bow
up,
around
tie
it.
a bow around it.
Okay.
Personally, I think it's not a bad hire. I think that if you're stuck having to hire a bilingual coach and the pool is so small, this kind of broadens the pool a little bit.
Okay.
And so whether he's gone at the end of the year or he actually acquits himself quite well and you say, you know what, let's keep you around, there's kind of no wrong answer here. And so I kind of like it, but that's going to my question to you, which is, if you were to put an odds on it, do you think that Martin St. Louis is coaching the Montreal Canadiens next year?
Wow. Yes, I do.
You do?
I do.
You're 70% sure, or
I would say probably 70 to 75%. Yeah.
Yeah. Cut to ad read here.
No, but I would say so, because I think if you're going to go in the direction that I think they're going, then you want someone who is going to have a good perspective on things and is going to be able to handle this situation.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to bring in, if you're tanking, you're not going to bring in an established coach who wants to win now, right?
Right.
You're going to bring someone in who is going to get in on the ground floor with a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
And, you know, have his guys and his, you know, and sort of bring them up and provide the template and the maturation and, you know, bring them along for a couple of years. And then you decide whether or not he's the guy that takes you a little further. But yeah, I would think that, you know, I mean,
why not?
There's no quick fix.
Yeah. No,
there's no quick fix. Like, who are you going to bring in? Who are you going to bring in? Why not? Like, Marty St. Louis. Okay. So you lose 52 games with Marty St. Louis. Okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. So moving on to Tyler Toffoli. A little bit. You wrote an article about Tyler Toffoli, and I have to say the amount of in-depth you went into for the Montreal Canadiens is really incredible. You had so many incredibly good ideas in this article. It's just so well conceived.
Where are you going with this?
Well, we talked on the phone before the article.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
I would even say that from reading the words you wrote, it even sounded like you were better looking while writing the article. I gotta say.
Yes, so. You did. You actually did provide me with a lot of good ideas for that piece. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, I see where you were going with that. Okay.
I was trying to be more subtle, but subtlety's not my strong suit.
It's not.
Yeah. Bludgeoning over the head is more where I get my laughs.
Right.
So anyways, going to the Tyler Toffoli trade.
Right.
Kent Hughes has come out and said that it's not a full rebuild, But obviously, like as you were just talking about, trading Tyler Toffoli, who is maybe not your most productive guy, but Tyler Toffoli has come out and said that he wants to be part of the solution and is willing to stick around in a rebuild. Yeah. Where Brendan Gallagher has actually said, he didn't say, I want to go, but he did say something to the effect of, I'd be open to leaving if the team is rebuilding, which, in hockey player parlance, that's screw you guys, I'm out of here.
Well, and you know what? I don't blame Brendan Gallagher for that.
No, I'm not blaming him at all.
I don't blame him at all.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to be able to move that deal.
No, I mean, it might be a net negative at this point, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
I don't blame him either.
You know what? And the fact of the matter is you probably won't get much back in return for him.
Yeah.
Because the other team is going to have to take on such a commitment.
Yeah.
But to me, okay, Kent Hughes says it's not a rebuild. Okay, so then what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? You just traded a guy who's productive, cheap, has term on his contract, and loved being there.
Yeah. He lived in Le Tour de Canadien.
Right.
He lived in the tower connected to the Bell Center.
And so to me, if that's the guy you're trading, then you're not rebuilding, and you traded him for a first, a fifth, and a prospect.
Heineman, yeah.
Then like, okay, well then what is it? Tell me what it is. If it's not a rebuild, what is it?
Yeah.
Because to me, it looks an awful lot like a rebuild, walks like a rebuild, quacks like a rebuild. You know what I mean? It's a rebuild.
Yeah, yeah. When asked to define pornography, I can't define it, but I know it.
But I know it when I see it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What's offensive? Yeah, exactly.
When asked to define a rebuild,
Judge, who was that judge? It was the. It was a Supreme Court judge in the U.S.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, anyways, I'll tell you, it looks a heck of a lot like trading Tyler Toffoli, but I definitely think that there's broader implications to this as well, in the sense that they don't think that if you're doing this, if you're trading a guy who's got 2 more years on his contract, you are if you're not going to rebuild, presumably the reason why you're not going to rebuild is because you think that Carey Price is going to come back and be a productive goaltender in 2 years. If you're trading Tyler Toffoli, presumably you think that is not the case.
Right.
So it's, I think it's a rebuild. I will say this. I was very underwhelmed by the return, but I do have a colleague named Patrick Bexel from Habs Eyes on the Prize who lives and works in Sweden. And he has access to all the SHL coaches, and apparently Heinemann's SHL coach is very high on him, thinks that he's a very high IQ player, and will be maybe a top 6 guy in the NHL, which is contrary.
Sounds a lot like Arturi Lehkonen before he came to Montreal and they ruined him.
Well, yeah. Well, hopefully Martin St. Louis will be better with the younger prospects. But that runs contrary to everything that I read, and I still hold my own reservations about just about guys playing in European leagues at older ages that are not the KHL.
Well,
we see guys come from the KHL like Kaprizov. We see guys come from the KHL at older ages and are well suited for the NHL. But I don't think that we see the same thing with the SHL.
I'd have to dig a little deeper into it, but I'm not sure that that's completely accurate. I mean, Teemu Selanne was 22 when he came over. He played for about 3 years.
Okay, so like 1,000 years ago, it happened once.
No,
perfect.
But I think there are other examples, but I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, a lot of those guys, they want to get them over, look what Detroit did with Lucas Raymond and Mort Seider. They got him over here. Right.
Yeah.
And so
before we move on to the other side of that trade, the Calgary Flames, which are having a fantastic year to the surprise of, everyone.
Yes. Yep.
But before we move on to the Calgary Flames, last thing I wanted to just say about the return was, the Leafs last year gave up a first and 2 fourths for Nick Foligno.
Yeah.
Come on.
But don't give me that. Don't tell me that. It doesn't matter.
Sorry, Ken.
It doesn't matter. No, it doesn't matter. Because hockey players at the trade deadline are like real estate. They're worth what somebody's willing to pay for them.
Don't tell me
That's
that either.
it.
I own real estate in Toronto. You might have just said
You're in good shape. You're in good shape then.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, but to me, it's like everybody was going crazy. Oh, if this is what they could get for Tyler Toffoli, JT Miller, look at what JT Miller's price is going through the roof.
Yeah.
No, it's not. He's a rental.
Yeah.
It's a completely different situation.
Yeah.
Tyler Toffoli has 2 years left on his deal with at a very, very cap friendly price. And JT Miller's a rental who's going to want big money after this deal's over. So no, JT Miller's not going to get way more. You know what I mean? Like to me, it's just because Toronto gave up a first and a fourth for Nick Foligno doesn't mean that everybody's going to lose their mind and trade all kinds of assets for these other guys.
I guess my point is that Foligno was a pure rental. Tyler Toffoli's cost certainty for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And Tyler Toffoli is a proven playoff performer. Yeah. Nick Foligno is...
Well, I know Montreal wanted one of Jacob Pelletier or Connor Zary.
Yeah.
Two of Calgary's better prospects.
Yeah.
And Calgary was just not going to do it.
Yeah.
They just weren't going to do it. So if they're not going to do it, what do? You get the best deal you can.
Yeah.
So
moving on to the partner in that trade, the Calgary Flames.